You don't need a lifetime to build a self-sustaining business, one that thrives with you but doesn't depend on you. And your freedom actually will come when you invest in your people, you lead with purpose, and you streamline your operations.
You don't want to never count yourself out, make it a great one. Just be sure to leave out the doubt, time to wake up.
Hi, I'm Harrison Tash, and with me today is Jason. And we're here to talk about the operational 4 of our 8 to Great framework. And this framework has been a catalyst to help businesses grow and develop. And so we're talking about within the operational 4, we're talking about the first component, which is winning strategy. I gotta have it from you here. Like, what is? I saw your face, right? You're like, here we go again. Go off script. Here we go. What is some of the most important things when you hear about winning strategy? Like, what do you think of when you think of winning strategy?
Well, I like the adjective winning.
Yeah, winning.
You can come up with a strategy, but you want one that wins.
Yeah.
Strategy for me, if I was to just try to say it really short and simple, and it may not be what you're expecting, it helps define your nose.
Yeah.
A winning strategy truly helps define your nose.
Yeah. Like you've got to know what you're going to say no to in order to be able to focus on what you say yes to.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's so easy to be distracted or maybe chase trends, or you're going to make a quick decision based off something very temporary or seasonal.
Yeah.
But your strategy, if you've done your work, and we're going to talk through it, if you've done that work well, then your yeses and no become very easy.
Yeah. And I love this. And I think this gets us into kind of our first point, which is, I think that sometimes we struggle with, do we move? Do we take action? But then there's this other side of it where we put on too much.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's this idea of inertia, or if we're overtaxing ourselves. And I think these two terms are easy to remember when I always reframe to this where I'm like, okay, am I like afraid to take action, or am I just taking on way too much? And how do we balance this, right? Fear-based
decisions are the worst decisions you're going to make. If you make a decision out of fear,
right,
you're trying self-preservation. You're not looking long-term. You have moved from your strategy. You've moved from your core values.
Yeah.
All the things we're going to talk about. You've shifted, and you've decided fear is now in charge of my business.
Yep.
That's not a good place to be.
So one of the things that you've said often, and we've really adopted this into our framework, which is your process actually becomes your strategy, right? So we're actually going to work through some of the process, give some highlights to the process, because without a process, you can't have a good winning strategy. You have to have a process to do it.
Absolutely. So we talk about 4 parts
that
come into the winning strategy. The first is the now. It talks about current state, understanding really what's going on in the now.
Yeah.
You have your desired future, like your current state, and then where you want to be.
Yeah.
Desired, preferred future.
Yeah.
And then from here to there is your path, right? It's that path forward. What are the obstacles? What's the path? We'll talk about that. And then the effective conveyance, which is all around getting there together. So unpack some of that.
Well, and I want to dive into this just real quick. Everyone always says this, like the planning's the easy part, the execution's the hard part. And so obviously with this portion, we're going to talk about the process that gets you to the execution. And then, like you said, the last part, which is how do you get the buy-in? How do you get the communication around it? Because that then is a catalyst for you to actually get to the part where you're able to execute on it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so diving in, let's look at the now, right? And I guess to kind of put a little bit of a image out there for us, I drew up this, I call it like the flower power of strategy, right? So as you look at the flower power of strategy. Man, the imagery that came when you said that. Flower power strategy. So this image, and as you're looking at it on the screen, this image is really based on our foundational 4. So if you look down the middle, the vision is the top of the north pointing star of your whole strategy, right? But at the middle of it, it's this purpose driven. It's what is it why do we do what we do? And then obviously values have to be a part of your strategy. And if you look at the image, what goes all the way around it, around those 4 components that you just mentioned about strategy, is healthy leaders. You cannot get legs onto your strategy unless you have healthy leaders who help get it there.
Yeah.
So let's go into the now. Mark Twain said this: whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, you want to pause and reflect. And that's what the now is. We don't want to get to the point where we're just doing what everybody else is doing. We want to make sure it's right for our companies.
Yeah, I think it's good because a lot of times if you're constantly talking with the same people, you're seeing the same thing the same way, and you have to ask, are we really seeing it accurately, or are we seeing it how we want to see it?
Yeah.
Because we've all got so much buy-in that we're trying to interpret it in a way that makes us feel good.
Yeah, and bias, right? We're biased to what we want.
Bias.
Right?
So who else, to bring in around, to have fresh observation, to be able to see things and maybe in a clear state.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we go into the now, we really want to highlight some good areas to look at in the now.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. We come with these biases, so we gotta sift through these biases and these things that we buy into from our own perspectives. But let's go into the first one that everyone likes to talk about in business, and I think it's appropriate. We just can't stay there because it's not the only component, which is finances. Finances. Yes. Money. So I think, just to point out, and I'm going to read this because I think it's important that we know. Revenue is important, profit's important, cash flow is important. These are all things that we need to incorporate into how we are currently looking at it and reflecting on it. But I think we often skip the part where, what do we do about it? And so there are some key things that we can do to enhance our revenue that is good conversation to review. So let's go over these real quick. If we're looking at strategy, how are we going to grow our revenue? Specifically, we could just look at some areas. We could increase pricing, right? This is evaluating opportunities to increase just what your services are. One thing to mention in this, and maybe you can speak to this just a little bit, is, as you grow as a company, you might become more in demand, hopefully.
Right.
And we forget to actually raise our prices. Yeah. We've done so much to be better, and we never raised our prices.
You want to be competitive. You don't want to compete against yourself.
Right.
But
yeah.
You want a competitive edge to your pricing, and we often think that it's about cheaper cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sometimes if you can increase value or make your value more visible.
Yeah.
That also gives you margin. Not only to you could maintain your price, but actually gives you room to increase your price because you've helped make visible a value that maybe others didn't realize was there.
And part of the reflection is that, which is, have we brought more value to our customers? And, well, if we have, why haven't we raised our prices? So there's that. The second one is sell more. You can identify ways that you can increase your offerings, and you can literally increase what you're selling.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's that piece. There's the operations efficiency, and we'll talk about that in the system side of things, but you could increase how efficient you are within your own operations.
Yeah, that's good.
And add anything to this. Stop me if I'm going through this too fast. Faster accounts receivable, right? So how fast can we get our payments in? How fast can we get what we invoice in? Can we get it faster? I think this one is often skipped over. We think of it as, well, there's no way around this.
Yeah, I think there's a fear at times. You don't want to offend your customer. You're scared of losing if they're slow on their payment. But there are ways to make it easier.
Right.
Yeah. So maybe it's not so much. Maybe you're silent and they forget about you.
Yeah.
Maybe you've made it difficult, and so they put hard things last.
Right.
Anyway, it's just a good review.
That's a good point. Making hard things last. Like, if I have to take this copy of this paper invoice and sign a check and write it out and send it, it might be last on my list.
Might be the last.
And this is an interesting thing, to be able to get faster accounts receivable. Sometimes it's literally go digital. Like, make it so that they can put in their credit card. An HVAC company comes to mind where they literally went to iPads and said, let's put it in right now instead of sign this and we'll send you an invoice, right? Yeah. So there's ways of doing that as well. To keep going, slower accounts payable, right? So this one I think is interesting and it is strategic. This is like, we just talked about getting faster. We got about getting faster payments, But on our side as a business, can we slow down how fast we pay for our suppliers, for our inventory, things like that?
Yeah. Yeah, and there might even be an automation way that you can work that out. So you're talking about work hours, you're talking about energy of people.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a process in there that as you slow it down, you can also make it easier for which is you're talking about efficiency, right, in your system. So that would be an area to look at.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. And then the last one would be to decrease direct cost. And so this is actually, looking at your inventory and saying, do we need it? Do we need all what we try to carry? Sometimes we find out, especially for, manufacturers, suppliers, you might find out that you're keeping SKUs on the list that we don't use but like once or twice a year. We ran into a company actually that their janitorial supplies for their floor, like they clean their floors all the time, right? They didn't realize they had an entire room full of stock. Yeah. And they were still buying it each month. So there's ways that we can do some inventory to figure this out.
Right.
And so the whole concept that we just went over, which is the current state of your finances, how do we learn to look at different ways in our business to do that? But there's other areas in the now, right, that we got to look at. And so maybe we can mention some of these, like getting feedback and interviewing your own employees, right? Surveys, interviews with people in your company, boots on the ground, leadership team, getting those feedback.
I think next to direct customer feedback, this is the most crucial you're going to get, because that's the team that's hearing it. They're hearing what's working. They're hearing what's difficult. They're hearing what's confusing. They're hearing what they're lacking.
Yeah.
They know.
Yeah.
Right. They're hearing the price.
Right.
Are they over negotiating? Are they having to win them back every time they go sell a product?
Yep.
Or every time they go, make a customer or client visit, are they having to reaffirm them? What is it? So when you're doing this assessment to your frontline staff, you're trying to understand, like, what is it that they are hearing from your customer, and then you've got to let that data tell you the story of what is your current state.
Yeah.
Because loyalty will only keep you so long.
Yeah.
And eventually it's going to cost you over time.
Yeah.
Right? Because the referrals are going to go down, and anyway, on and on. So it's a valuable piece to really have an honest conversation. We're going to talk about it in systems, but it takes people. They have to trust that you're going to receive their difficult feedback.
And use it. It's also important that we look at it and say, not everything we get feedback on we can act on.
Yeah.
Or is as relevant as you think it is.
That's right.
But it's good to get it so you can hear it and understand it. And as you were talking about that, I think one of the tragedies of, say, executive teams or leadership teams of companies is when they're only getting the feedback from the top line. That's a tragedy to me.
Yeah.
You've got to get it to the closest part of your service or your product. You've got to get that feedback from them, right?
I think it maybe, just if I jump back briefly, I think it's worth mentioning when you're looking at your revenue, look at the trends in your revenue.
Yeah.
Look at your trends. So if you have multiple things, multiple SKUs or different price points that people are, did customers, did they buy extra? Did they add to their services?
Yeah.
Are there, the majority of your customers are going to what product and you're not selling as much of what? Let your revenue tell you a story about your customer.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Right? And then you can take that and go to your front line and go, could you help me interpret the story that our revenue is saying? And
would you say that's kind of a lagging indicator at that point?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so the leading side, obviously, those are important to look at too, but you're speaking of, like, once you get it, you've got to use it, right? Yeah, good stuff. One of the other parts of the now, getting the information back, is also reviewing your products and services off of observation. How many times have we heard of companies growing and losing quality? And it's like, because we're not doing this well. We're not looking at, is this service still as quality driven as it once was? Is it still timely like it once was?
Yeah.
Is this product still holding up the way it should? So it's also getting that feedback from your product and services as well.
I don't remember the hair, and it doesn't matter the name, but you'll know it maybe you'll know it. You're younger than. Anyway, there was this hair care product, remember, and they would say, "I'm not just the owner, I'm a client."
Okay.
Right. I'm not just an owner, I'm a client. I think I think as business leaders and owners, we should, as often as possible and when and where we can, we should try our own product.
Oh man, that is good. I mean, it's so true that when you do, you're going to notice what's good and what's bad in it.
Yeah.
There's no way, right? Like I think of restaurants in this. It's like go eat your own food for sure.
Right.
Right. That's for sure a really good tidbit on your product and service. Yeah, good stuff. The other thing that's worth mentioning is also looking at like trends in your market. Like what's going on? What are people on the forefront of? Do you want to be at the forefront of it? Do you want to be in the middle after someone tries it? And sometimes that's logistics, sometimes that's new products, sometimes that's new ways of doing service. Obviously, with a lot of the artificial intelligence and automations that are available, it's like, do you want to invest in it heavily?
Yep.
And do you have the capital to do that?
So the last two that you mentioned,
Yeah.
are going to come from your first two.
Yeah.
When you do your revenue analysis and you talk to people on the front line, could you help me understand the story? Well, the product, they say this is not. Well, when they use this is a problem they're having.
Yeah.
Or they found a better, they found a newer, they found something that.
Or your customer saying, why did you leave, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I left because we found this company that can deliver it faster.
So it's going to talk about market trends. It's going to talk about product efficiency and cost and value. And you're going to learn so much if you just look at your revenue trend and and then invite your front line to help you interpret the data. You're going to discover the last two things you've talked about.
And I want to speak specifically to people who are listening to this that own a business. Things like Amazon, corporations like Amazon and Walmart and some of these bigger box retail stores and getting this stuff to you quickly, you can fight against this with loyal customers.
Absolutely.
Right? So take the time to strategize against it so that you can survive and not have to, fall to some of these bigger corporations. And this is what this is all about, helping these small, medium-sized, privately held businesses be able to thrive and not just survive.
I can't wait to link this to core promises, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be a good opportunity for them to keep learning forward.
Yeah, so we just talked a lot about current, the now. Now maybe touch a little bit on the desired future, looking into the future. Let's talk a little about that.
Well, so you have to revisit your vision.
Yeah.
You've got to know, what are we doing here? Like what's the vision that we have, and then and the components. Now we've talked about earlier, so they'd have to go back.
Yeah, go back to the vision.
Foundational.
Foundational 4 videos, and look at the always vision and look at the horizon vision. Both are going to be very relevantly tied to the winning strategy.
Yeah.
Right.
So there are some good questions to ask about your vision. When you go revisit your vision, what are some good questions that you would use to evaluate it?
Yeah, I mean, the first one is just like, is it still relevant? I mean, you could go 1 year, and this is why when you look at the horizon vision, you're like, hey, let's look 3 years, 5 years in advance. You're doing that as an exercise to bring your brain into the future and then say, what do we need to do to get there? But we know the market can be volatile, right? And we have to look at it and say, okay, has things changed, and what has changed?
That's right.
And so it's not saying, let's just scrap our vision, because when you do that, I think people get tired. It's like, wait a minute, I thought we were doing this and now we're doing this. It's like, no, we're going to tweak this. And that's why it's good to look at what mountain we're climbing each time and to see what is still relevant.
Right.
Yeah.
And you've also talked about, like, in your vision, maybe you could talk a little bit about the difference. Like you would say, don't be rigid, but don't be vague.
Yeah, there's like this scale. It's like, how do we bring clarity? And it's like, if you're rigid, that's when people get in trouble. And we know the story of BlackBerry. We know the story of the Blockbuster and some of these companies that were pretty rigid in how they did things. And it can happen to any of us. Like, any of us have the ability to fall to rigidity and fall permanently sometimes.
Yeah.
So we can't be rigid, but we can't be vague, because nobody likes vague. It breeds ambiguity.
Right.
And then it just makes people question too much. Like, well, what does that mean for me? And what does that mean for the future? And it's like, no, there's this clarity piece that's somewhere in the middle. It's almost like when you're on a weighted, when you go to the doctor's office and you get on the scale, it's like there's almost like just this little thing that brings clarity, and you have to consistently move it to find it, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. There's room for us. It takes art and science. Maybe that's what I'm saying. There's
good way
art
to put
and
it.
science, and there's some science to your vision, but man, there's some art to it. And you're right. How do you, which we're going to talk later, but you've got to be able to put your hands, I guess, if you will, on the engine and be able to see if all the valves are going and just everything's working right. And it takes all that. And if you go too rigid, like you said, you will crumble. If you're too vague, how can they follow you?
Right.
How can they follow you?
How can it be a North Star if it's too vague?
Yeah.
Right. So then we're going to move into the third component of the winning strategy, the process, which is the path. So once you know your vision, once you've assessed your current state, and you have all this information, and you know where you're going, you can then kind of say, okay, from here's the vision, here's where we are now. Now what's the path to get there?
Yeah, I love it. Not mine. I've adapted it because if I tried to quote the person, I would get it wrong. So this is how I've adapted it in my life.
Yeah. I like how you did that. That's like, I can do that for everything, I think, going forward. It's not mine, but I adapted it, so it is kind of mine.
So it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's learners do that.
That's right. No shame.
Good, thanks.
Yeah.
Even though I feel it.
No guilt.
When strategy gets clearer, options get fewer, decisions get easier.
Right.
That's what you've got to have to get into this path. When your strategy is clear, your options get fewer and your decisions get easier.
Yeah.
Or at least simpler.
Right.
And so this is the path. And I love what you've done, right? This is some things that are proprietary to Living Water, and it's called the SOLID exercise. So
Yeah, and I think the premise behind the SOLID exercise, just to kind of set it up, is we always have something we're working on in our companies. And so when we do these SWOT analysis and we look at all these things that we could look at, oftentimes we get very whimsical sometimes in our thinking. We like, oh, we could do this, we could do that. And we start to paint a picture of all the things we could do. The SOLID exercise is to bring us back to earth and say, but we have this going on too. And so that's the whole reason why it's been birthed, is this, we recognize that people love biting off all this stuff and overtaxing themselves.
Yeah.
So that's the whole point of the exercise, is to kind of bring a balance to that. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at SOLID. What does it stand for? So the S is for strengths. Go into strengths a little bit, because we're kind of used to this, but there's some things here that I think are good to go through.
It feels sounds self-explanatory. Strengths, these are what? These are things you do well.
Yeah.
These are foundational principles. These are foundational products. This is what your business is built on.
Yeah.
Right?
And when you're looking at strengths, is there things, we talked about bias earlier. Do you think that you see companies in general being biased to their own strengths sometimes, that it's maybe not even true? Do you feel like people are normally pretty honest with themselves? I know that's a vague question, but I think it's one of caution, right?
Yeah, it's a difficult question. And I think, your customers and your front line, again, talking to your front line, what you thought was a strength, they no longer value.
Yeah.
They no longer need. It doesn't mean anything to them anymore. And so while it is a strength, it actually was a strength, and now it's an irrelevant strength.
That's a good point.
It's good.
You can't forget all the current work that you've done to this point, right? You have to draw in that stuff of the feedback and the surveys and the interviews. You have to bring that stuff in to know your strengths.
Right. So I think there's an internal assessment. Do we think this is a strength?
Yeah.
We think this is a strength of ours.
Yeah.
External. Do our customers think this is a strength of ours?
That's good.
That's the one that matters the most, because anyway. So that's what I would do to try to answer your question is, how could we find that out from our customers if it truly is still a strength?
And to add to that is that when I think of strengths, I do think of sometimes when the CEO or the president is in the room and they're like, this is a strength. And then you get all the head nodding. Yeah. It's like we have to invite people to speak to it first. So oftentimes in strengths, I'll tell the CEO, president, like, hey, talk last on this.
That's right.
I want to let them say what's a strength, and then you can come in.
That's good.
Yeah. So there is some things in strength that you can't just, it is self-explanatory, but have some good practices around.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it.
All right. So O is for opportunities. If you've done the SWOT analysis before, you're used to this, but I think the thing in the solid exercise is that this box is actually broken into 2 sub boxes, which is what is internal and what is external. So you're looking at opportunities inside the business and outside the business.
Good.
So maybe like think about opportunities inside the business. Maybe you do a few, I'll do a few of the external.
Well, opportunities inside the business. You could look at process improvement.
Yeah.
It could be an opportunity. You could look at your systems, efficiencies, things like that. Your waste.
Yeah.
That would be, and then maybe the last one that I would put would be cross training.
Yeah, development of your people inside. Yep. Yeah. And then external, I would go back to your market trends that you've already done in the current and try to pull in some of those and say, okay, what are the opportunities that we actually see exist for us? And sometimes that's dictated by capital that you have, your cash reserves, if you got money saved up for it, if you've done well with budgeting. But sometimes it's also just, we're not in the right region. So many companies have adopted things too early and your customer base isn't ready for it.
Right.
So look at opportunities realistically.
Absolutely. And to lean into that, especially like in a year, there could be a financial momentum that's happened in your market area. There could be a collapse. Somebody or something that was really predominant in your region that was really working that your company benefited from.
Yeah.
So you got to look at kind of a socio-demographics study on, well, who's moving into your neighborhood, who's moving out, what businesses are coming in, what businesses are going out.
Got to review
how are the educational systems working, and all of that. So just understanding where you're selling, what's going on there will help. Yeah,
that's good. And to keep on track, let's move through some of these. So L is lacking, and basically the thing is like in the short term, what do we need? I think we forget about this. It's like, well, we know we got to hire 2 people, but we didn't put that in our strategy.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you gotta list those out of what's in the immediate short-term needs so that you can be realistic on the things that you want to do beyond those.
I know I keep coming back to it, that when you listen to your customer, and you're getting that from your front line,
you should have
you're gonna find out what they're lacking. I guarantee you have someone in your business that has created an unofficial system to go around something that's not working.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. They're gonna find the path that brings them the least resistance.
That's right.
So let's go into the I. The I is igniting. And this is where the exercise comes in this is more the proprietary side of it, where we're like, hey, there are things that we're just got started that we need to keep into account because we've already worked towards these, and we can't pretend like they're gonna take care and actually get done on their own. Right. So what's been ignited? Yeah. And then the D is develop on. And so essentially what you're doing is you're taking things from the igniting and you're carrying them over and saying, we're going to continue to develop on these as part of our strategy.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the solid exercise.
Yeah, it's good.
I think maybe the next part, and we'll just cover this quickly, but
that's good.
As you list all these things down, the problem that we run into, and I run into this, you probably run into this, which is we have all this stuff.
You can't do it all.
Can't do it all.
Not
we got
in here.
all this stuff,
That's right.
right? And in some rooms, it looks like it looks like we just murdered a few trees.
That's right.
Because we got these Post-it paper everywhere, and you're like, what are we, like staple or something? Like, this is really a lot of paper and a lot of decisions. So we break it down into these 3 things. Is once you have it all on paper, we want to first circle things in blue, and the blue is that these are things that we want to make decisions on very soon. So is it strategic? It might be, but we want to make sure we allocate resources, time, money, people to these things and make decisions.
Yeah.
And after you circle them in blue, you write down who's in charge of that.
Absolutely. If you're going to make something an initiative, if you're going to make something, you said it, I just want to recap it one more time because it's so important. For it to be an initiative, it needs 3 things. A leader.
Yep.
A budget or finances, a line, needs money, and a team.
Yeah.
If you are not going to put a leader and money and a team to it, it doesn't make the list.
It's a wish list if you don't have that stuff.
Absolutely.
So then once you circle things in blue, you'll start to see things pop up. And now we want to go to, let's put a red X on things that we think are distractions.
That's good, yeah.
And in some of this, you're probably going to go to opportunities and you're like, nope, that's a distraction. That's a distraction. You might go to some of the things that are ignited that you've already started and you're like, it's actually turned into a distraction. It's got us away from our core offering or something like that.
Yeah, it's good to put it in a parking lot. Don't forget it.
Yeah, don't forget it.
Right, and it's just not a priority.
Yeah, and so I'm rereading Men in Rubber by Harvey Firestone, and one of the things I love this story is, you know, when they started becoming very successful, they grew to a lot of different people. Harvey comes into one of his sales meetings and they have all these marketing magazines. And he's like, well, what is this? And he's like, how much do we sell this for? And they're like, 5 cents. You know, back then, this is big money, right? And he's like, well, how much does it cost us to produce this? And he's like, 20 cents. And he's like, well, are we a advertising company or are we selling tires?
That's right.
And then it was like the next day he had just X'd the entire marketing department and said, go sell tires, you know?
That's right.
So when you look at this, you have to look and say, what is distractions? And we've got to X them off.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then the last part is we then put a green circle on the things that we think as a team, you got to have some buy-in here. People have to talk to this.
Yeah.
What are the things that we're going to dedicate our time to? Circle those. I can almost guarantee you that you're going to need a few after meetings to kind of digest it after you do this.
I think it's wise to have a limit. And you have to do a capacity assessment on the demand of your market, you know, and then capacity of your leadership team and understanding how much you can produce. So for some, it's okay. If you can only do one, do one.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep.
If most companies, I don't know if they can go beyond 3.
Right.
So don't feel bad if you only
big
have
initiatives, things that take a lot of time, resources, all those things. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, 3 is a lot. And actually, you know, we can't get into it here, but we actually force companies to put it into focus areas. And then the objectives fall from that. And it's like, what are the objectives underneath this? And it makes you choose 2 or 3 objectives even underneath those focus areas. Right. Yeah. So let's go into the last part. The last part of the process is really the conveying piece. Like we often do this. We put it on a shelf and everybody knows about it except for everybody. It's just the leadership team. We think everyone knows, but it's really just the leadership team that knows, right?
How many times have you been with a company or a team and the win was the meeting?
Oh, that's
the
good.
win was the win is not the meeting.
We're like, yes, that was so good. That was like beautifully done. It was a great.
But this is about winning strategy, not winning meetings.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. We've got to give it legs. Yeah. And so you know, one thing I like to say is once you sit on it for a while, you digest it, you refine it, and you get those focus areas and those objectives dialed in for the year. Which remember, these things are leading to your horizon vision. When you look at that, I then say, okay, it's really important that you then kind of go to like the departments and say, hey, here's what we're kind of working on. We're putting plans together. Speak into it. Like, what do you see as problems here? What do you see as, you know what I mean? Like there's some ways to get some feedback from the boots on the ground. Right. So that's an important piece of the conveying. And so we won't go into like basically all the components in this. We can't, but this, in essence, is the full process, right? It's the now, like what are we looking at? It's the vision, it's the future. What do we want to go?
Right.
Using the 2 to define then what's the path, and then it's the literally getting the buy-in, conveying it to the rest of your company.
Yes, which is really the big piece. The implementation and bringing people with you. Yeah. Because at the beginning, you talked about building a business, right, that thrives with you, but doesn't depend on you.
Got to have shared ownership.
So you have to have people come along with you.
You got to have that shared ownership. And so as we've gone through this, I hope this was very helpful for you. Hopefully you see that your process does become your strategy, but you have to have a way in order to figure out what do we want to work on. And over time, you'll dial it in more and more. Don't make this a one and done in the year. Make this throughout the year. And we'll provide any resource that you would like to have. Do me a favor. Go to this connect at consultlivingwater.com and just ask for resources on winning strategy. We'll send you the chapter of our book. We'll send you all the resources that we have, and we would love to talk to you about that. Until next time.